you hate the thought of working past 55 or 60? Do you hate not being able to live the life you deserve today? Do you hate not knowing what your financial future looks like? It's time to stop doing what you hate. Here's your host, Mr. Harold Green.
Aloha, everybody. This is Harold Green of Brightree Financial Group, and it is time to stop doing what you hate. I hope you folks are having a fantastic day today. I'm taking a couple of days off just to catch my breath and to maybe relax a little bit, work from home here and there, not do too much. It's been a rough few weeks with the market being all over the place, and I call that that's when it's time to fly the plane. And it was just very interesting just to kind of see how things were performing and to see how people were reacting to all of the different news, just crazy things. It was entirely unreal. A lot of people got extremely emotional. They got all tied into the news, just crazy stuff. But thankfully, a large majority of my clients, I would say 99%, although they were a little bit, kind of nervous, a lot of them just kind of kept reading my emails and my newsletters, and it just kind of brought them some peace in the storm, because there were a couple of times where people called and they were panicking and different things like that. And I understand. However, we have a long-term plan in place. We have an intermediate plan in place. We have a short-term plan in place. So no matter what happens, there is a plan in place. But you know what? You got to stick with the plan. And when you don't stick with the plan, guess what happens? You panic. Sticking to the plan prevents panicking. And I'm going to say this, even if you do panic, just stick to the plan and it'll work out. It will work out. So, are you folks ready? I didn't tell you the title of the show. It's Smart Withdrawals from Your Retirement Plan. That's right. Smart Withdrawals from your retirement plan. So are you ready? 1, 2, 3, let's get it. There's smart withdrawals from your retirement plan, and there are not so smart withdrawals from your financial plan. So I want to talk to you a little bit about what's going on right now. Right now, there's a bill, I think, in Congress or whatever it is, and they're talking about raising the age where, people take monies out of their retirement plans starting at age 75. They're allowed to wait until they're 75 to start taking withdrawals out of their retirement plans. I don't know about you, but I sure as hell ain't waiting until 75 to start taking monies out of my retirement plan. Why would I do something like that? Well, a couple of different reasons why I would. Number one, I don't need the money. Number two, I don't think there is a number two. So I think there's only one reason why I would wait is I didn't necessarily need the money. But there's a lot of different things that'll happen to you if you wait until 75 in order to start taking money out of your IRAs and different things like that. It's going to complicate your estate planning tremendously. And the reason why is because you have all of those withdrawals, all of that money just building and building and building and building pre-tax inside of your retirement plan. And although I know it's a noble idea, but it's one of the craziest ideas I've ever heard. And it's not going to work that well for you. And here's what I think they should have done. I think they should have said, well, extending the age to 75 is one thing, but I think they should have opened up the door so that people can start taking their monies from their IRAs and their Roths and all these different things at age 50, not 59 and a half. So to extend the age to 75 is one part, but without opening the door sooner, say at age 50, it absolutely probably does you no good. And here's the reason why. Let's say, for example, you're going to leave your IRAs to your kids, right? Now, there's a couple of different things that are going to happen. They passed new legislation a while back that says, based on certain situations, you got 10 years to pull the money out. And if you don't pull the money out in 10 years, guess what? You're going to be penalized, up to 50% of what you were supposed to take out. And let's say, for example, it's just basically you got Tesla stock in there that went up 2,000-3,000%, and now that IRA is worth $10 million. That's going to be very problematic. So I want to talk to you about smart withdrawals from your IRAs. Now, one of the things that I talk to my clients about all the time is the 401k exit. Just like you had a strategy of going into your 401k and into your IRAs, you're going to have a strategy to come out of those very same accounts. What does that look like? Now, I'm going to give you an idea for people who want to retire early. I don't know if you're working with anybody or not, but if you want to retire early or make a shift, I call that phase one of rapid retire, where you quit your job, you start doing something different. Let's say, for example, you're living on $100,000 a year. One of the main things people don't look at when they're working is, and when they want to retire, they don't look at calculating out their tax situation, what they're funding into their 401ks, what they're paying in FICA taxes, and all these crazy things. And I have a lot of clients who end up with a net pay raise when they retire versus a pay cut. Why? Because they're not paying all of that money coming out of their check and FICA taxes, state taxes, federal taxes. I mean, it's just nuts. And I tell them, I said, you know what? In some cases, you are better off retiring and maybe taking a lower paying job or a less stressful job and then doing something different. So what does that look like? Let's say we go into phase one, make $100,000 a year. You know, I know a lot of clients make way more than that, but I'm just kind of giving you an example for quick math, right? And let's say at $100,000 a year in a 15% tax bracket or whatever that might be, $15,000 in taxes. And let's say you don't need the whole entire $100,000, and you haven't been living on the whole $100,000 anyway, because a lot of it is being taxed. So you're probably netting anywhere between $65,000 and $75,000, depending on if you're funding a 401k. So the question is how much do you actually have to make to continue enjoying the life that you've had? I'm going to go on a limb and say you probably only need to make about $40,000 a year. Well, where do you get the other $15,000 to $20,000 a year from? Well, if you're under the age of 59 and a half, here's what you can do. You can take the difference from your 401k, and I'm going to go out here on the limb and say, shoot, pay the frickin' penalty to pull the cash out on an annual basis, right? What does that look like? So let's say you're taking out $20,000, and the penalty on that is basically maybe 10%, right? How much does that come out to? That's like $2,000 a year. And if you're working with a phenomenal investment advisor, I'm sure they can make up the penalties that you're having to pay on the IRA money every single year. If you're working with a phenomenal, or even maybe a halfway decent person, but anybody can pretty much make that up. All right. So what does that do for you? It frees you up from doing what you hate, working a job that you really don't love, but you're doing it because you think you need the money. But when you run the numbers, you may not need everything you think you need. So I would say sit down with someone if you find yourself in this situation, calculate out the numbers, and see if you can start making those smart kind of withdrawals from your plan that will allow you to retire early and deal with less stress. Now, another thing I have clients do is we begin doing some Roth conversions on some of the money that they don't need. And we do the Roth conversions every single year. We do the withdrawal, roll it over to the Roth, convert it. Then we send the taxes to the IRS. So at the end of the year, they don't have a huge tax bill because we've sent the taxes to the IRS already. We can calculate those things out. Now, here's the thing about that strategy. If you're going to do the Roth conversion, it has to be on money that you're not going to need for 5 years, because if you take monies out of the Roth IRA after you put it in, if you haven't waited 5 years, you're not going to be able to take the gain on the Roth IRA without penalty. And again, you have to be 59 and a half in order to take the monies out without paying any penalties on it. But in some situations, we're not going to really worry about that. It just kind of depends on where you are in life, what's going on, where your stress levels are. I have a client right now, their stress levels are through the roof. And I said, you know what? You got the green light to retire this year if you want to, right? I'd rather see you retire and living a long life than dead in a year or two because your job is going to kill you. And so they haven't really made the decision yet if they're going to pull the trigger, but I've given them the green light. And a lot of it is what's going on in society right now in terms of, not society, but the war and different things like that, the economy, inflation. It's like, oh my God, can we live in this high inflation? And I'm like, yep, we already got that built into your plan. Yep, you don't have to worry about that. You are good to go. So That's all I have for you folks today. I just wanted to rant a little bit and give you an idea or two that will help you get to where you want to be and stop doing the things that you hate a lot sooner than you probably thought you could. And if you want to take a look at that with me, get on my calendar, click in the show notes, right? Schedule an appointment with me, and then we can sit down and run your numbers and tell you where you are and what it is that you're going to need to do in order to get from where you are to where you really want to be. So that's it. You folks have an amazing day. Thanks again for tuning in. Until next time, everybody. 1, 2, 3. Let's get it.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.